Okay. We'll continue. Is there a motion to approve the proxies? Senator Lopez?
Motion to approve.
Senator Lopez moved to approve the proxies, seconded by Senator Reel. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Approval of the agenda. Beyond, okay, are there any changes or corrections to the meeting agenda?
Last I checked, 17F008 was approved last week. I haven't.
Yes, I apologize. I don't know why it's still on there. We'll strike that from the agenda. I'll just go change it right now. I also will change club to club. Any other changes? Oh, it's read only. So in your minds, strike those. Any other changes, corrections? Okay. Passes by unanimous consent. Approval of the minutes. Have you guys reviewed any changes or corrections to the minutes from last week? None? Also passes by unanimous consent. Open floor guests, we are very pleased to have the Ornithological Club, correct? Got it. They're going to come present. Some of you have also heard the name. It's bird and whale watching. So if you guys want to come, you guys have the floor.
And then the PowerPoint?
Yep, right there.
Oh, perfect.
And then you can.
If you just use the keys, you guys you want to shut the doors?
So as you said, we're the SD Ornithological Society. This is our field society. I'm the president. My name is Ryan Payton.
I'm the vice president. My name is Alex Decision.
I'm Randy Neff.
And then our treasurer can make it today. And our advisor is Robert. So our mission statement is to share the joy of ornithology to the public on and off campus through service, charity, community involvement, and education. So bird and whale watching. Now we're primarily a bird watching club, but we've included whales to basically, diversify, make it a little more exciting, advertise better. It kind of diversifies, our educational sessions where we learn about different birds and stuff, and throw some whales in there. It seems pretty fun. How fun would it be if you're doing a calculus class and the teacher's like, all right, today we're going to do chemistry. Maybe not a great example. And then illustrate the interconnectedness of the natural world. So then there was a rumor that we were planning to send some guy to whale watch. That's not true. We don't plan on traveling at all anywhere to whale watch, and there won't be any travel outside the Black Hills. And then there would be no official oriented, but be some funny thing.
Our activities, the ones we have planned or in the works include a visit tour from the Black Hills Raptor Center and a visit tour from the Audubon Society.
And what I mean by this is Black Hills Raptor Center, more specifically, is a group of ornithological enthusiasts that take care of raptors. Raptors are basically big carnivorous birds like hawks and owls and stuff. And they have a lot of rescue birds or endangered birds that they keep, and they reuse them as teaching animals. So they do a lot of activities where they'll take hawks and eagles to like an elementary school, and they'll show kids, birds and show them, teach them a little bit about ornithology. And we really like to get them to come out here and do that and have an open event where anyone can come and watch this paper. So funding use, if we get approved, we like to apply for the venture funding. And that would mainly be used to either entice the Black Hills Raptor Society, the Audubon Society, to come out and visit. And again, the Audubon Society is basically just a worldwide bird watching society, and they do the same thing as the Raptor Society, but with a lot of other types of birds. And then any marine funding would be used to help advertise those activities to the community or to the Black Hills. Fundraising opportunities.
Include sale of calendars containing pictures of birds taken on campus.
Yeah, pretty much. We just want to make a calendar, and we feel like we can market that pretty well. There's a lot of different birds on campus. We've seen owls and all kinds of other, transient birds. So it'd be really good to kind of make a calendar of some of the pictures and see what we could fundraise from that. And then member demographics. We haven't seen any trend with majors. We've seen pretty much everyone from mechanical engineering to maybe ABS. Years, we primarily see freshmen and sophomores, but we feel with greater marketing, we
outreach, like Ryan said before, would be inviting students and faculty and community members to either the Raptor Center here in Rapid or the Audubon Society, which would be hosted here on campus.
Are there any questions for any of us?
So I have two main questions. The first one is, you mentioned you're going to be spending money on advertising. What sort of advertising do you plan for that?
Well, that would just be, being able to print out posters or flyers to hang around campus. And that wouldn't be a very large use. Mainly that would go towards getting those societies to come out here and do that, because usually they do charge a fee. Sometimes they'll do it for free, so hopefully we can try to get that, but if not, they usually will charge a fee to come out and visit, like elementary school or middle school, so I don't see why that would apply to us.
And then the second main question is, it seems that you're mostly a bird watching club. So I'm curious, the reasoning behind adding whale watching in the name, is it just for sort of the humor aspect, or would it be misleading at all for somebody who actually did want to watch birds?
So, it's not our official name, our unofficial nickname is the Bird Whale Watching Club. We would absolutely include identification of whales along with our bird identification. We will primarily go and look at birds. We can obviously not go and look at whales, but for the times in which we might be sitting and having a meeting where we're looking at bird identification. For instance, we had a meeting in which we played Identification Jeopardy, and we had categories of birds, but we threw in a category of whales because, it spices it up, makes it a little more interesting. It also definitely does help with the advertising aspect. Bird Watching Club it sounds pretty neat, but Bird Whale Watching Club also sounds really cool, and a lot of people came because of that, and they enjoyed what happened during the meeting.
I was just wondering how much it would cost to bring one of these societies up. You mentioned that it might be free, but if it wasn't, ballpark it.
So we obviously like to apply and ask them, hey, could you come out here? We're close by. You might come out here for free. But they don't really have an absolute figure on the website. It's absolutely through talking to them, saying what you want. It might be, say, $50 for them to come out here and bring, one bird, or it might be, $200 to get them to come out with, 12 birds. It really will take an in-depth communication with the societies to get an exact figure.
What inspired this club?
Well, bird watching has always been a passion for me. I grew up in a place, or have been living in a place where there's lots of birds. You saw it earlier on one of the slides, a field of just dozens of birds. That is where I've been living. There's 3.5 million birds on a 2.4 square mile island. That's a lot of birds, and I'm very interested in birds, and I've met a lot of other people that are also interested in birds and bird watching, like Alex here, and Mandy. And we just wanted to create a society that was, like that, because there's really nothing else like that on campus, and there's a lot of other people that we've noticed that are very much into that have had a lot of fun, attending events.
Is there enough aspects of whale watching to really make it necessary to put that as part of your name? Because if you're officially going to go by the Ornithological Club, there's going to be a little bit of confusion.
Absolutely, I definitely understand the question. But again, it is also the unofficial nickname, or the nickname. So on all official, aspects, we would be the Ornithological Society. And I feel that, most of our events and ideas, besides, of course, the visits or going out to Black Hills and look at birds, most of our on-campus events will be revolved around identification. So I feel that by including, whale identification in that, it would be worth to add it to the name.
Great.
So for having these, like the Raptor Society come out, would you be doing this like once a semester or once a year?
Well, we'd like to try to get both Raptor Society and the Audubon Society come out, so that most likely would be different semesters due to the amount of planning we take for both of those events. Based on time it is throughout this semester, hopefully we can get the Raptor Society to come out next semester. So in that aspect, it would be a one-year event, but we're hoping in the future to do maybe one big event each semester, one Raptor Society and one Audubon Society.
And then do you have enough interest that you are going to be able to have new officers next year who will continue the club even if you are not the president?
I feel that we do. I feel with increased marketing, we can get more people to show up. we've had quite a few people show up that were very much interested in birds, and they knew more than I did. So I feel in that aspect we definitely have people that would be very interested in continuing next year being officers. If I was
Oh, and you just like kind of touched on the topic. So like, are you like do you have like a lot of knowledge of like of the birds and stuff in the local area, or is this more for you to learn? Like, are people gonna learn with you, or are they gonna?
Well, I'd say it's definitely an aspect of both. I've only been living in South Dakota, since last year. That was my first school year here, so my knowledge of birds in the local area might not be as good as, say, Alice, who knows probably better than anyone I know. So I would say they are learning with me, but I'd say there's also plenty of other things that we can teach, and that aspect, yeah.
What's the average attendance at your meetings?
So we've had 39 members sign up. Our last meeting, we had 12 members show up, but that was also not exactly well timed. It was right before a chemistry test, where a lot of people who would have showed up went to. So I'd say an average attendance we can see around 10, 15 people.
Any other questions? Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll see your resolution tonight and vote on it next week. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our other open floor guest, Neil, will, he said he was in a research meeting until about 5:30. If he got out early, he was willing to, but he's not here yet. So I'll push him to announcements, because he's mostly talking about an event coming up. So we'll skip unfinished business, as there was none, my bad. And new business, we have resolution 17F009, Ornithological Club.
Alright, Campbell overfilled resolution number 17F009 from the 25th of October 2017, originated by the Constitution Committee, presented by myself. Whereas adequate interest has been expressed by students wishing to form an organization, Ornithological Club, and whereas there are currently no organizations that overlap this interest, and whereas the Constitution has been constructed and reviewed for site plan, and therefore be it resolved by the majority vote of the Student Senate and the signature of the Student Association President that the Constitution for the Ornithological Club be approved, allowing for official recognition.
Is there discussion on this resolution? Senator Cordelis.
Okay, so President Ryan, who lives on my floor, so I have heard a lot about the Bird and Whale Watching Club. From what I have heard, he is thinking, he said he's not now, but like last week he said, I don't know if I'm going to have this club continue to be a club next year. And then I have also heard from other people that he is going to use the money he gets from SOAP to use on and for himself, and not really for the club. I don't know how much of this is true, but that is what I have heard about this club.
Senator White.
So obviously we've all heard a number of rumors surrounding this club, and not really good spending. So I'm not necessarily against them becoming a club, but like, is there a way that we could be more watchful of what they're spending?
Yeah, I would also like to mention that this resolution focuses on them becoming a club. It's actually not related to them asking for SOAP. That would be a separate resolution for new venture funding. So when I look at this, they have members coming to their organization, they have interest. That's one part of the story. When they ask for funding, which it sounds like they're going to, that's going to be a hard conversation.
Senator Roberts.
So I have two things. One of them does involve funding. So the whole fact that they had to like push their presentation and do it ASAP just shows that, I don't know, you're supposed to like have meetings, do some stuff. He clearly said they're probably not going to do an event this semester. They're going to do it next semester. So from what I know, they came and presented today and not the future weeks in a hurry is because they wanted to apply for new venture funding. Now, if funding, I know it's a separate issue, but like you can definitely have a club like for printing posters and stuff. Like it's a separate topic to discuss later. But why come in early just for new venture funding? You should like try and get more people to go to your meetings. Like there's so many clubs right now like who are coming in. And I've not seen such a reason for new venture funding because finally like the point of a club is like education or like it has a certain goal and like that and funding is like just to aid the club. Like you should do some stuff on your own. And second thing is I've also heard rumors and they were not out there but like their thing is apparently they want everybody they think it's very easy to get soaked and it's super simple to present in front of Senate and if Senate approves almost every resolution they see. So kind of trying to make a mockery out of it. This is what I've heard. I don't know how much of this is true. I might be wrong, but this is rumors again.
Again, I think we can't base it off of a rumor that we've heard. We had Le Mans, we've had other venture capitalists that haven't even spent their $500 we gave us. So I mean, you know, they're saying their events cost money to bring these people in for education. I mean, who's to say that that's not going to how it has to be? So to just say that the venture capital, and we always, you know, after one club has a meeting, they always come to the Senate to try to get their club organized. That's to officially have a meeting on campus, you have to be a recognized board. You can't rent out a room here without being a club on campus. So really what we're saying is that, you know, right now they're illegally renting rooms and holding meetings on campus because they're not an approved club on here.
Well, they're allowed to have up to like 3 unofficial meetings, and they can rent rooms and things like that. So technically, like, they're okay now, like in terms of
Right.
Yeah, this point was made earlier, but I think this is about like them becoming a club, not about their future funding, and they should be separated. I don't think anyone here wants to see them spend money like we would approve of, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a bunch of interested people in that club who really just want to meet and talk about those.
Senator Rod?
Yeah, obviously I don't like hearing that there are like these rumors going on. Obviously, we don't know if they've actually said that or not, but I don't think that those rumors should inhibit them being able to just be officially like a group and meet, especially for people who are interested. This has nothing to do with money, so.
Any more discussion on this resolution?
Well, so if we do make them a club, they can apply for venture capital, a max of 500. So that's about the most damage they can cause this year. I would flip a coin that they're going to be a club next year, and if they are, that's good. You know, then we can really look at them as a club and really see what they've done, how they're growing, and take it from there next year. But how much can they do with $500?
And I'd also say that they may ask for 500. I think that they're going to have to be creative to find that much stuff to spend money on based on what they said was just a couple of trips within Rapid City. I honestly like straight up buy a bird. I feel like we're not going to say that.
Senator Rebecca.
If this club gets approved, I encourage all senators that come back next year to see where they're at. If they don't pass, then we can take that in the future and try and hope new organizations succeed for the future. But I think at this point, our focus is on whether they can become a club or not about new capital funding.
Anything else? Great, we'll see this resolution next week. Moving on to resolution 17F010, SOAP Constitution updates.
Okay, Campbell Overpiller, resolution number 17F010. Originated by the Finance Committee, presented by myself. Whereas the SOAP Constitution is lacking in certain explanations of funding restrictions and member roles, and noting these Constitution changes include updating the description of what it means to be a member of an organization, expanding on the duties of SOAP committee members, adding additional clarity on SOAP expenditure restrictions, and making several minor enhancements to the document. Therefore, be resolved by a majority vote of the Student Senate and the signature of the Student Association President that the constitution changes be approved, allowing for formal recognition. And would we be able to pull up the document? So this is, oh, I can control it, this is great. So this, we've made a lot of changes. This has been a work in progress the last couple of weeks. It might turn on all changes here. Okay. Okay, so a couple comments. So this SOAP constitution has been unchanged since I've been here, as far as I know. So it's definitely a time for some updating. A lot of minor changes. I'll try to go through these quick here. First of all, a couple of clarifications. Finance committee to chief financial officer. Wording changes. These are mostly small. We'll get to the interesting stuff. A couple of changes in the roles of the voting members of the SOAP committee members, and clarifications on what those members will do based on presentations. Again, these are not as critical changes, but I would definitely advise you to go in. This folder is in the finance. This file is in the finance folder on the F drive, and read through this document and try to find anything that is not correct. So again, this stuff is not quite critical. No senior member, just small changes. So should we go to the remainder? Housekeeping mostly. We can now kick certain committee members off the committee if they miss 3 of our meetings. We didn't have that ability before. Just updating, so new venture funding is handled by the finance committee, clarified, it's not by the subcommittee. Then the supplemental, small changes. I don't even know what the student planner is, so I took it out instead of I including MJSD to it. So I took that out. And then this part I took out, so applications for all organizations will be made available by appointment with committee member. That was not relevant. And more. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and it gets very messy. So what I'm actually going to do is turn off tracking so you can just see the new addition, and it's going to be a lot easier to read. Okay, so pretty much this whole section is the stuff that's changed, or the important stuff. Everything's important. This is the most interesting. So first of all, individual salaries has not been changed. Religious organizations, this was reworded, but it's the same meaning as it was before. Just because I wanted to have consistency in how it was worded all the way down. And it was all sort of mixed up wording before. So this is a big change. So we added this clause that says a member shall be defined as a student capable of holding executive office or participating in all organization events and having equal voting power. Before it just said will be allocated. This is just what it said before. And with this extra clause, it essentially prevented all honor societies from receiving SOAP funding because they do allow associate membership, and so that was the catch. However, those associate members are not capable of holding executive office. So this catches those, makes it very clear. This was in there before, so that's unchanged. This section was also in there before, but I just changed the wording of it to make it consistent. Now this is a new clause. So this one says that individuals that are not current students or staff, SOAP money cannot be spent on them. And also notice the word current. So we had an interesting situation where a student was trying to get funded, but they were going to get funded right after they graduated, which meant they were no longer a student, but they just were a student. So I actually made sure to say current. Sure.
So I'll yield my time to Corey. I think it's probably the same.
Yeah, but
same
knowing this is a little bit different, just that sentence in there, I mean, technically with whether it's gap funding or any money that we as departments receive, none of that money can be spent on staff types. I mean, it's very general on ways we spend that. So it may be the same with soap, like, I would assume soap money cannot be spent on staff members.
That's a great point. I know when clubs get reimbursed for soap money, they have to list all of the staff. And it's possible that those get deducted out of their
Foundation accounts or somewhere else has
Yes.
to be taken.
So think of that.
Yeah, it can't come through from soap.
I wonder, is that a friendly amendment or is that a bigger amendment?
It's substance, I would say. But we're gonna, I assume the finance committee is going to compile comments about this.
That's right.
And this likely won't be the only change.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay.
Senator Veit, did you have something?
Yeah, there was something about, let's see, it had to do with events with restricted or closed attendance.
Yes.
So what about clubs that plan like trips and can only bring a certain amount of members to, say, like, yeah, something like that. Would that prohibit some funds being used for those conferences?
Right, it's a good point. The main thing is technically all students can go on that trip, like they're capable of going on it. There is that's just how much they choose to go, like the number of students. That honestly, that's a great point. We should probably talk about that and specify the wording, because the idea of this was to say you can't exclude certain groups of people or certain categories of people from your meetings, but on the idea of like there's a limited size. Yeah. Attendance. Question. I should make notes. It's really fast. Oh, that's going to be under data.
Sweetheart, did you have something?
Yeah, it was just more some clarifying that when we were really discussing this was more for the conference, because any student could go, you're just restricted on basically what you can pay for it. So you're not telling someone you can't go because of you're not this person in the club or anything like that, or you don't have this anything. We really made it in line with what we've done for the fraternities and sororities, because they're restricted based on sexes. That now with the honor society is based on GPA and all that, and different orgs, that if you don't allow somebody to hold an office or be a full acting member, then that's where it is. So if everybody has an equal opportunity in the club to do it, in conferences we understand that not everybody can go just because of funding and all that, then as long as everybody can be an officer if they wanted to and choose to, then we consider that you're a fully equal club.
Senator Barkman?
This is kind of on the same note. I know some professional organizations require you to be a paid member of their organization to go on conference trips. Would that also be included? Like, there's like for IISC, there's a $35 membership fee that you have to pay through nationals.
Yes.
That they sometimes require to go on conference.
So those people can be funded, but they can't be funded through SOAP. They can be funded through foundation accounts or accounts other than SOAP. That makes sense. They don't do
I
that.
think if that's the case, then we maybe don't want to do that, because most camp teams that are related to a national society probably have to have membership to go to their conferences. I know for ASCE, for sure they do.
Senator Sweetheart?
I don't know if we really answered that question, that because you have to pay a membership, that's your national thing. But as a student group, you don't require somebody to pay that membership to attend your meetings or to do any of that. I mean, on the national side of it, that's where the restriction lies. But at your individual, you don't really have the restrictions on it.
Follow up on? Yep.
But the restrictions for honor societies are also on a national level, right? Yeah. Or is that just inherent in their nature?
So I guess with that, it would be, could somebody that doesn't pay national dues hold an officer position? That would be the key thing,
Right.
written as this is. If somebody can hold an officer position and hold a full voting power in the club without paying national dues, then you're okay. And even if they can't go to nationals because they don't pay their dues, that's on them. That's not you as a club, for how it's written right now.
So just keep in mind that if you're going to a competition, then and you're not a member, like say Formula team, like when Formula goes for their like annual competition, and someone wants to go, and if he's not a part of SAE, then they like make you sign up because if you want to go, that's your commitment to your national organization. So, like, but as far as I know, like they allow anybody, like even freshmen who are not members of SAE, to hold officer positions. So I don't think that should be an issue, and I yield my time to Corey.
And I think it's double checking on terminology too of what we are considering the difference between a professional organization and an honor society, and what differences there are to the groups that are technically considered honor societies as opposed to our outside of other things that we sometimes call them departmental groups, right? And where that goes. And then just while I see that, Ezra, I know for you on G, I know you're not there yet, but about facilitating fundraising.
Yes.
Just if you haven't, we might want to remind that first presentation that we did for self-funding about using money to fundraise, since that question came up.
Yes, thank you, yes. I'm planning, if these changes get approved, I'll be sending it out to all the organizations and highlighting those changes, and saying these are the things that we approved.
Have you like talked to honor societies or like the people that will be affected by this, and like how do they feel?
I've sent emails to all of the executive members of all the honor societies that are affected by this. I think I only had one response, all the others didn't even respond. I have talked individually to a couple of them. Most of them sort of just understand the situation. I haven't had actually anyone who's tried to contradict it. They've just sort of accepted the situation.
So during SOAP last year, that too, we did bring them aside, each honor society, and let them know the situation that this year that we were going to fund them because this was something that was coming down the pipeline, and then just be prepared for next year depending on how things were in Senate with the Constitution. So they have known for the past year,
and
change is coming.
Unfortunately, that's something that we've said in other years, so they've sort of started becoming comfortable with the fact that we have made empty statements. And so finally last year when we said this is what's happening, we're actually keeping our word. I think it's important that we do so.
I was just wondering how much these honor societies usually receive in SOAP-funding, and if they have other options for funding. I don't know how much it's necessary though.
Yeah, some of them do fundraising. I think there are either 4 or 5 on campus, and most of them are fairly small dollar amounts. I'm not going to throw a number out because it's probably going to be wrong, but it is in the order of a couple of thousand total for all of them.
Big thing too was we wanted the departments to start funding these organizations. If they're kind of department specific things, the department should be proud of the students they're producing inside their department and try to have a responsibility for their students and too, instead of having all the students paying for these people, for these groups.
So it's not a different topic, but we talked about a little bit about the events, and I think maybe you guys understand that right now, but in a few years that might be a little cloudy, so maybe I would suggest rewording that. It makes it a little more universal.
Yep, so I've added a comment.
Okay.
We'll be looking at some wording for that to try to make it. Now that statement's unchanged. That's how that statement's been there since I've seen the Constitution.
Do we need to change SDSMT to SD-, or?
Oh, no. Did I do that? I'm sorry.
There's a couple of them.
Yep, there's 2 of them.
Okay. Any more comments on the ones that Ezra has gotten through so far? Owen?
Okay, I'll just make it. Okay, so should we keep going through?
Yeah, Elmer.
I had one at the very top, and you can come back to it later if you want. But you said something about the most senior member according to class standing.
The most
Just like
senior.
right up
Yes. yes, right here. So in the event of a permanent vacancy of the chairperson, which is basically subcommittee chair, the most senior member of the finance committee, according to class standing, shall take precedence fulfilling the position. So originally it said the member in order, according to class standing, this part was taken out. So in order of descending class rank and then by age determined by the date of their birth. Which is like the most awkward way to say that ever.
Do you think that it would be more efficient to have that person be the person with the most finance experience? Because what if you get a senior
Well,
senator?
that's a good point. So senior can kind of imply like they're most educated about the process.
Right, but you say according to class.
Okay. What am I trying to say? Okay. It does say that. Maybe we should change the wording on that. I'll make a comment. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, most experience. I mean, but that's a subjective term. I feel like we'll have to figure out a way to not be senior and not just be most experienced and have like
And
longest time.
just to know, I will make, these will be sent out tonight to you, so you also have an opportunity to read through them more thoroughly than this. But Ezra, go ahead and continue with.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to take up.
No, this is, it's important.
Okay. All right, so this one, exceptions, so we're gonna fix that. So this line here, so funds may not be spent on items used to facilitate fundraising. We may have to update this. This is a new item. This was not in there before. But in other words, I talked to Heather Forney about this, and she said that spending money on articles, if you will, that potentially make more money is not allowed in the business office. So they will stop it depending on the exact thing. Like you wouldn't like buy a stock with soap money hoping to make more money. That's not allowed. So so this is in there. Do you guys have a better, like a suggestion on a better way to phrase that? Okay, moving on. So this one, this is not exactly how it's stated before. It previously stated, so funds will be allocated for clothing up to 50% of the cost of the clothing. But this is, again, the SOAP constitution and how SOAP workshops have been presented in the past. There was a discrepancy. The last few SOAP workshops always said $5 per shirt, and so clubs are used to that. It's unfortunate that there was this discrepancy, so that's why we're updating it to sort of maintain what we've told clubs in the past. Also note that it says SOAP funds will be allocated, so it doesn't say SOAP funds must be spent at a rate of $5 per shirt. So we'll allocate this, then have the clubs actually spend it. Goes through the business office.
What about clubs that decide to do clothing other than shirts? Because it says here for clothing at $35 per shirt. What if they do like a hat or something?
That's a miss on our part, yeah. Excellent. And of course, it can be personal. So that's given. And then this is basically what I said before. Brent, question?
Does the clothing need to stay with the club? Or
Well, that's why it's not personal in nature. So it's to sort of be with club related, sure. But as far as staying with club, I don't think we need to make
I
every
just think
club
there's no way to enforce
get
that.
their
no,
shirts
there's
back.
no,
That's
but
really
I'm
hard.
just trying to, the way it's worded right now.
Well, it's like
You know,
you can't just buy like
whatever shirt they want to? I mean, I think we need to reword that though.
you can't just like
Club
buy
like
a nightgown for sleeping at night because that's very personal.
But I mean, I guess the way it's worded, we don't really specify that. I think we've overlooked that. We should specify it needs to be a club related, but can't be personalized in nature type of a thing. It doesn't have to stay, but if you're like the Moon Rockers, your club sure needs to say Moon Rockers on it.
Why didn't you tell me this?
I don't know, that's why, it's nice seeing it again.
Okay, let's reword that then in our meeting. Okay, so this is about the same. This is not changed, really just wording changed. This is not changed. this has changed a little bit. So this used to say will be allocate for food only for recruitment events. And now we're just saying for one recruitment event. This is the same situation that's up here. We've always told clubs one, and now we're sort of just.
Can you clarify what the meaning of that statement's supposed to be?
Allocated for food for. Okay. Otherwise, I was looking for only one, right? So that's.
Okay, Senator Allen.
So this would be one recruitment event per year, per fiscal year.
Yeah.
Just.
That's true. Well, they only receive. That's true. I'm not sure. I'll make a note of this. I did not expect so much feedback, but this is fantastic. So it says, soap funds may only be used for food if they did not specify before.
Senator Allen.
So you changed it from any recruitment to
Yeah.
Did you take out recognition events
Yes, because recognition events is really, I mean, they're both subjective, but we just sort of wanted to clarify. Do you have an issue with that?
I just think that's very limited, but maybe that's just.
Senator Abrams.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we discuss in a prior week that we weren't going to restrict funding for food and clothing, and it sounds to me like we're restricting it here?
Well, let me clarify.
Yeah.
So it says will be allocated. So what we were discussing before was from the business office actually shutting down the actual expenditures of the club. So this talks about the SOAP process allocating it, and it's actually not actually restricting the actual spending.
Vice President.
Keep in mind, that was just an informal vote. That was just a gauge.
Correct. And that was about milk.
Yep.
Anything else?
Okay. A couple of last things. We can turn on track again because it's not very much after this. A couple of things. So we never talked about fundraising before as something that would go into effect as far as allocations go. Somebody's misspelled duly up here.
Senator Mike.
Is there any way where, like, how will you evaluate an organization based on their fundraising effort?
That question could apply to
all of them.
All of these methods. The whole SOAP allocation process is extremely subjective because it's impossible any other way.
Senator Stephen.
So on the SOAP presentation though, we've mentioned to clubs now, clubs aren't supposed to have cash accounts. They've always had them. So what you're supposed to do is any money that you fundraise is supposed to go into your foundation account. When you put that money in, you get monthly financial statements, and those financial statements you'll be submitting with the budget to show that you deposited cash in the form of fundraising into there, so we can compare what you put in to the amount that you're requesting and go by based off of those for your fundraising efforts.
Senator Martin.
So is this kind of saying that if you show that you are making an effort to fundraise, that you could get more soap, or are you saying that you're doing a great job fundraising, you don't need soap?
This would, yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't actually specify, but it means that if you're showing initiative, just like one of the other things say, if you're showing initiative, I think if you're showing initiative, it means that you're putting effort to fundraise, and we won't cut your budget as excessively. That'll be a factor in your favor, because every club gets their budget cut to some extent. Okay, so a couple other things. Organizations that don't use 75% or greater, it used to say they're just totally ineligible for receiving funding, but we wanted to make sure that if it was past leadership that caused them to drop the ball on SOAP, they wouldn't totally be ineligible, but they would still get penalties. Because we've had some clubs that spent less than 25% of their SOAP budget.
everybody?
And then, the taking in what is now 4 to taken.
Will be taken. Okay, yeah, thank you. A couple of wording changes. This clause, this statement did not be relevant to this clause. Let's see here. So, in the next section, we just set in stone here a time frame for supplemental funding. They must submit a request at least 12 academic days prior to the student association meeting, basically saying we need it by Monday. Prior to the first reading of the resolution. If that makes sense. 16 days before the approval of it. Just to clarify that. And then this said must have applied for SOAP for the current fiscal year in order to receive supplemental funding in the last 5 years. Is, makes more sense. And that's what we've told clubs in the past. A couple other changing it from 10 to 12, as I mentioned before. And then this was there before. I don't know why it was like that. I think that's it.
All right, so,
That was the first reading.
yes, that was the first
All that
reading.
over again next week.
Ezra, if you would send out both with your comments so we can see, that what we talked about as well as just, all the changes. If you could send that out tonight to all the senators.
Sure.
If you have feedback, please try to get it to Ezra as soon as you can, because Finance Committee meets on Monday, so it'd be very helpful if you could get that to them before Monday.
Maybe at Monday at 7 a.m.
Yes. So, I'll open it up. Is there any other discussion on this resolution? Okay, great. We'll see this next week.
Oh.
Okay, we will move on to the CFO report. Ezra, please grace us with your.
I feel like everybody's so sick of finance at this point. Okay, so let's see, finance report. Of course, we had SOAP workshops last week. I think they were successful. Only 3 clubs that applied for SOAP funding last year did not attend any of the workshops, so they're ineligible for receiving SOAP funding this year. Also, myself and Senator Knudsen met with Heather Foyne this week for a very informational and lively meeting. So a couple of stats, which I very carefully recorded from this meeting. They are accurate this time. The Wellness Center bond payment plan is 25 years long. And it started 3 years ago, so we have 22 years of money expenditures to the Wellness Center bond, which we talked about last time. In fact, every year, approximately 1.9 million is allocated towards the bond payment, the Wellness Center maintenance cost, and a couple of other mandatory miscellaneous expenses. And that comes out of the GAF fee, which means that the GAF fee, even though we actually get to see 1.2 million of it, give or take, the total GAF last year was 3.1 million, the exact number of $3.142817 million. That's the total GAF. A bunch of it goes out automatically, we can't control it, because it has to go to these bond payments. So the big discussion last week was the reserve account being at 800,000, and like if we could spend it, or some of the questions on that. So the last time it had any major deductions was 16 years ago, when it was completely spent to zero by the Senate then, and that is their right. So I asked Heather what she would do if we decided to do that, and she said that she would say a swear word. So that money has been growing in the past 16 years, average growth each year of 50,000. There are 2 ways for it to grow. Clubs that do not spend their money, and if their projection was low. So we got more money coming in from the GAF than we expected. That account would grow. If we were to raise the GAF by $1, the total funding across campus for the GAF funding would increase by $63,000 if total credit hours stayed the same. So if we allocate that 63,000 towards student organizations, it'd be pretty substantial. It would be a large percentage increase what they're receiving now. The GAF subcommittee, ad hoc committee, is going to be looking at this. Something to note though, Black Hills BH recently increased their GAF fee by $2 for the very purpose of funding student groups. So this change actually is extremely similar to what School of Mines would do. And it passed through the Board of Regents without issue, because if we were to increase GAF fee, we would have to submit a request to the Board of Regents, and they would discuss it, and they would actually be the ones to approve it before it would happen on campus. Now, if we were to do this for next year, the deadline is actually November 8th that we have to decide, because that's when Heather has her agenda and she submits it. So that's 2 weeks from now, less than 2 weeks from now. We don't have time. So we will not be able to increase the GAF for next year. But there are other options that we can help out students for next year for funding. We're going to talk about that in the GAF subcommittee. And let's see. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
so
my
we have a-
personal privilege.
okay.
Okay.
Let's see, a couple other things. Actually, that was my last thing. The other thing I was going to mention, the total restriction on clubs for funding food and funding clothing is something that we will not be pursuing at this time.
Any questions for finance? Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I have a question.
Oh, sorry, Senator Provost.
You mentioned 3 clubs. Do you know the names by chance?
I do know the names. I wasn't going to shame them, but I can. Blacksmithing Club, Gamers for Service, and Lions Club. And they received multiple emails, total probably 5 or 6 emails in total about it.
Thank you.
All right.
Could you repeat those? I'm sorry.
Blacksmithing Club, Gamers for Service, and Lions Club.
Any other questions for finance? All right, thanks. Jake?
Okay, cool. So the Club 135 app, I don't know if you guys have all heard about it. It is going to be launched pretty soon, tentatively November 4th. It's an app that Student Affairs is working with the Hard Rock Club. He's going to probably explain a lot more of this than me. But right now it's catered towards tracking points for athletic events, not student organizational events or like professional development events. And Kevin Price came into the concert committee meeting last week to pitch the app to us. And he's just reached out to me to ask if the Senate would like to pay for half of the annual cost of the app, with the caveat that it includes events like professional development or organization events. So the total cost that we would accrue is $2,000 for that. Currently though, the app is available to anybody in the community, or it will be when it's launched. So like anybody in Rapid City can have the app, not just students. And the rewards are mostly like discounts for businesses in the community. So we were talking about using student affairs as the manpower for this first year, because right now they're only paying $2,000 for this year since they're only doing half a year, and potentially asking instead of paying half of that, you would do a test run to see how it works and gauge whether or not we want to jump full-fledged into the thing. So I guess I just wanted to open the gate of discussion.
Yeah, and to clarify, sort of our tactic that we have, you know, unless you guys deem otherwise, is that if we can't guarantee that it's going to be used for non-athletic events, you know, that we're going to be able to customize events, we can't buy into it. And so we, having not been in the development process, the testing process, we have no idea whether or not it's even feasible for us to do it. So we can't buy in that way. But if we can say, hey, you know, we can test it, we can spend this next semester, you know, looking at it, seeing is it viable to do in other areas beyond athletics, then perhaps we could throw it into our GAF request come, you know, March. So, Senator Elmer.
Two-part question. $2,000 a year, is that what they would be asking us?
Yes.
And then, who exactly is paying the other half? The hard rock,
Department.
the athletic department,
Yeah.
Hard rock club.
Hard Rock Club, not the athletic.
the hard rock club.
Okay. Senator Mike.
Good point.
I was wondering what criteria we would use for like outside athletic events, like what events are worth going.
Is that something you already talked about? So he'll talk about that in his report. Senator Rhea?
Okay, so they want us to spend, or to make $2,000 and use it on like students and people outside of the school? No?
That's
Okay, so
one
I
of the
thought
other
that-
points that we need to talk about is
Okay,
because
I'm not-
if we're going to, one, help put in like prizes, like if there's a scholarship or something, I mean, it's not gonna help a community member much if they get a scholarship to the school mines probably. But if we're gonna do that, we need to guarantee that only students can win those prizes, or you know, there almost needs to be a secondary students-only section.
Also, with that, depending on usage of the app, we could probably track usage in numbers. And if you have 75% of the numbers coming from community members and only 25% coming from the students, I feel like that's also a reason to adjust proportionally to buy into that. That's my personal opinion.
Similar motion.
Where does all that money go to? For is that maintenance for the application?
My guess is, I mean, I don't know, do you talk about that?
I'm pretty sure it's just
It's
licensing.
gonna be licensing and software maintenance and all that, yeah. Senator Elmer?
Do we have any idea if the app does have a capability for like when you create an account, like are you a community member or are you a student?
Currently, I don't know.
Okay.
We're gonna set up a meeting with Kevin Price about this, just so you guys are aware, but we wanted to kind of get your feel on issues that need to be brought up.
And the only person that has this app right now is Kevin Price.
Anything else on that? Anything else for your report? Okay, thanks. Then for President's report, not a whole lot. We have, at least I've had one candidate for non-trad reach out to me, so thank you for reaching out to your guys'. And then I have a second one that was emailed to me that I will reach out to him. So hopefully we'll have 2 interviews here in the next week or 2, and then potentially have a non-traditional senator back with us. One-on-one with organizations. Jake and I met with Hapman this week, and we're meeting with the Hard Rocker Mine and Rescue team, or the Mining and Rescue team, whatever their official name is, on Friday. What Hapman had to say is, well, we talked about the concert because there's potential for Hapman to kind of help out with that, if not transition into, you know, as they are a programming organization, it would make sense for them to be highly involved in that process. But then things that they had questions about, opening events to the community, especially when it came to soap money. So depending on where these go, that would give them a different report. And then they were curious, and I talked to Ezra about this, but about recategorization so that they could see other organizations. They typically get lumped in with the honor societies or the professional development societies, and they were like, hey, it'd be really great if we could see Art Club, you know, and I don't know if Art Club is still active, but they just want to see what other organizations are doing for SOAP hearings, and so that was something that we easily can do. And I'll say it again during announcements and upcoming Senate business, but next week, Wednesday and Thursday, Presidential Search Committee, the candidates will be on campus. You guys should have received an email from me. One went to the whole student body, and then some of you may have received another one. But just, I have the times right, no, not right here. But there's 3 on Wednesday, and I believe they're at 11. Here, I don't want to miss it.
11, 2, and 4, and then 11.
Say it louder.
11, 2, and 4 on Wednesday.
Okay.
And then 11.
So, and they're hour-long sessions, so 11, 2, and 4 on Wednesday, and then 11 o'clock on Thursday. So if you guys can make any of those, please attend. It's really important. And if you can, RSVP to me so I can send on a number. We're really trying to figure out whether we'll all fit in the courts room or if we're going to open it up to the main ballroom if we can get enough students. I've received a good number of RSVPs from students, but encourage your classmates, encourage your organization pals, whoever you interact with, please get them to RSVP and to go. And they can go to any sessions. If they can only make one, that's fine. But if they can make 4, that's better. Send it around.
I'm just curious how important the RSVP is too, because I heard a lot of students say that they literally just didn't say anything because they didn't want to RSVP.
I know, and I expect that. I expect there to be that. Please encourage them to, because it gives me more like physical evidence to say, hey, we're going to have a big student turnout. Can we be in the ballroom? That's why. Send it around.
So I'm saying like they're not going to go now because they didn't want to RSVP. If that makes sense.
Okay, I will send out an email to clarify.
If you think it's
Shoot. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
When do you need the RSVPs by?
As soon as possible. Like I said, it's more for me numbers, so I can just like pass it along. So I'm just going to keep updating Molly about how many I have. Molly Weisgren, sorry, Board of Regents. Please, I don't know, as soon as possible.
Okay.
There's no like hard deadline because.
So I just want to. I'll reach out to you.
Okay. But I appreciate that comment, Gina, because I hadn't thought about people not coming because they thought they had RSVP. And beyond that, I don't think I have anything else. Do you have any questions for me? Anything that I need to be hitting that I'm not? Okay. Yes, please.
I forgot to say, Santa Polos arrived last week, and so if you haven't gotten a polo and you ordered one, come down to the Senate office. Reminder, if you have not bought one before, it's $10. If you have, it's $20. Thank you.
And yeah, so please wear them once you get them. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Constitution.
Okay, so I got just a short report from Ari. So we have Math Club coming in next week to present. We're working with the non-traditional student org to get them started again. Chess Club is interested in getting reactivated again. MUN, the model UN, we're looking to find out if they are getting more members. Debate, we're waiting to see if they're going to vote on the Constitution. They've been saying they're going to for a couple weeks. And then activity reports and re-registration is due by November 1st. So after that, we're going to have to start the activation process. So you might be able to send out a list of the ones that haven't yet, but just make sure your clubs, if you're involved, do it. So. And report to the questions.
Questions for Constitution? No? Thanks. GR?
Alright, okay, so the parking spot fundraiser is that time of year, or it's 1 month down. So I'll be passing around the sign-up sheet for the ticket booth. If you can please sign up, it'll be Thursday and Friday, 10 to 2. You can sign up for a slot. No, go this way. Okay, and then GR will be hosting some open forums. So we'll be having one for the Chemie department to inform the students of changes in classes, like class availability. We'll be having one just for a gap increase, just a potential, just to get a feel for how students feel about that. And then I was just told that Jen from the food committee, or from, I don't know, where she is. Yeah, okay. She says she wants to have an open forum and just be put on her big girl pants and go talk in front of the kids. So those will be our open forums. And then for a morale event, I was thinking we could do, or actually Jake was thinking we could do some pumpkin carving. So if anybody is interested in that, just a really recent, soon one, because Halloween is so if you want to do that, just come back to me. I already have a pumpkin, so.
Apparently Aaron really wants to go bowling, so we're going to do that instead.
Okay.
To clarify, Wednesday nights are crazy cheap nights at Robbinsdale. So I'm just saying,
Okay.
if a group wants to ever get going,
I will plan that. Thank you, Aaron, for your input. And then I will have either Brock or Brett talk about our local politics event board, because apparently Survey has a different idea.
Okay, Senator Raymond.
Speaking of politics, could we maybe consider the idea of inviting the mayor of Rapid City to come talk to us at a Senate meeting?
Sure. So you can do that, or I can reach out to him as well.
Okay.
Similar board.
So with the bulletin board, it was brought up in survey committee. They have a digital board available to us, and the idea of that is to post relevant like SU legislature that is going on. Obviously, they're not in session now, but next semester they will be, and also probably keep like a rolling feed of Senate resolutions, so people are aware of what's going on in Senate. Some people probably have no idea that the American Welding Society is using the club now, so it's just kind of relevant information there. They said that they kind of have an issue if it becomes more political, so they steer clear of anything that towards one political party or the other. So strictly information.
And I don't know if this is what you're going to talk about, but if you come see me about the parking spot, we've had resolution. Samira.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not you.
Did they have a certain bulletin board in mind, or digital board in mind, like a specific one, or they were?
I guess I just found out that it was definitely available from Brent just now.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Anything else for GR? Thanks, man. PR.
PR did not meet this week due to technical difficulties or physical difficulties. Any questions?
For those of you, just be gentle to Kate right now. Okay. Any questions for PR? All right. We'll move on. SA.
All right.
Oh,
I'll
go ahead.
do it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, very sorry. We have a new Hard Rocker discount program.
Yes.
They're an online used video game and accessory store. So, School of Mines gets 15% off any of their inventory, which include video games for like, I don't know what is even out there, like PlayStation or Xbox and all that stuff. Games and accessories. Sorry. Oh, okay. And so we do have that new member. Aaron was going to send it in the next update.
Yep. And
to get the discount, if anyone's wondering, you use the code SDSMT at checkout. You get 15% off.
Great. Anything else for PR? Okay. So Hill, what you got?
Alright. So I met with Joe Lukin and Jake pretty much Jake is pretty corresponding with Kevin Price in the Hard Rock Club more than Joel, and I'm corresponding with Joel and not with Kevin. And we discussed the School Spirit Challenge. We are all on the same page right now, at least Joel and I are. But he wants to meet with Jake and Kevin all together in one room and discuss this whole thing, which we will be scheduling pretty soon. So now one thing, aside from everything that's there, there's a few ideas on the table. And if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. Tomorrow at our meeting, we'll be talking a lot about this pretty much. If anyone wants to come to that, it's at 1 p.m. on Thursdays. But something Joel and I came up with a tier system. So you don't really just get a scholarship or a recognition. You need to clear levels, and we don't know what they are. Giving out a free t-shirt, not worth it in my opinion. That's something he came up with. I'm like, I don't think someone will continuously go to the game just for a t-shirt. We need to come up with creative ways which are inexpensive but exclusive. So t-shirts, yeah, the Rowdy Rocker makes those exclusive t-shirts, but there should be something exclusive this way. But when it comes to that app, Jake and I, we're on the same page. We need to evaluate before we spend $2,000. And in the long run, this has to be exclusive to everything. So Keith, answering to your question, what events these cover? So something that improves school spirit. So anything that we consider, so being an orientation leader, Rocker Days committee, going out to competitions. In the long run, it should be applicable to every single organization, And this is probably it's not gonna be done while we're here at least. Maybe. We should try really hard to get everything covered. But it's gonna be like a progressive process. Our goal is to like start something by next fall, and it's gonna keep improving year by year. Now regarding the 135 app, there's a lot of things that can be done if we decide to pay for it in the future, next year, next 2 years from now. We need to amend it to suit student needs. So that could involve creating an account. Now they have a discounts and a reward section. We can incorporate the Hard Rocker discount program to that. And one of the ideas we also came, like this is with the current app which they will launch. It's like a flaw. This is only GPS based right now. So if you're at the game from like start to end, and that's what a GPS says, you're gonna get the points for it, the full points. But now, like I was talking about when Pokemon Go came out, everyone is manipulating GPS signals. Like it's literally a 5-minute task. Google and do it. So we need to come up with more creative ways. And before I go to the foundation or Dr. Larry Simonson, I want to have a proper plan what we want to do before we give out these scholarships, because this is going to be the most unique scholarship if it happens on this campus. Like it doesn't involve your GPA, it doesn't involve your grades, it involves your school spirit. And there's just a lot of ideas on the table, and rewards are not our priority right now. That's what I said yesterday at eBoard. It's more about getting the structure ready. I think we can focus the latter half of next semester on rewards, because we still have a lot of time for that. We have a year plus the semester plus this next spring to decide that. So we'll get to that eventually, but right now it's just about the app. So we can only have more information once we discuss tomorrow in our meeting, a couple more eBoard meetings, this set of meetings, that meeting with Kevin Price and Jake, Joel, all together. Okay, before I go to the next point, does anyone have questions on this specific thing? Okay, cool. So, short one. A Senate update for the student body will be drafted this week. Food committee already gave me, so there were a lot of comments on the Common Board involving food. And when food committee met last week, they asked every question. I have written answers to all of them. And some of these will be sent out in the weekly update. And since we changed the format of the Common Board to like one specific question a week, so like previous week we had what specific food improvements do you want to see? This week was like school spirit. So if you guys or your committees or ad hoc committees have any questions you want to see on that board, instead of just sending out an email like which people may or may not read, delete. I mean, if you want to see it on the board, let me know. If there are no questions, then
Questions for a second. To clarify, Senator Vice name is Kim.
You just combine.
We called him Eric for like a week. It's okay. I did. Senator Elmore.
In Senator's defense, I want to say that he basically gave you a celebrity name because you combined your first name and your last name. So
There you go. Okay, campus or ad hoc committees. And before that, actually, new campus and ad hoc committees, things have been kind of shifted around.
what happened?
The campus ad hoc committees, it's just not.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's the updated one. The one that says updated.
I literally sounded up my way.
So those are the freshman and international campus committees. Soham, you should have already been on that one. All the freshman senators, if you would reach out, and please note that they are replacing some of the people. So anyone who had, well, not anyone, people who had 2 or more campus or ad hoc committees, some of you now have one less. So please, if you just check the drive, that's why I left the other campus one up there, so you can go see who, whether they're replacing one of you. It just takes a little bit out of control. So, if you want to be involved in it still, reach out to that campus committee and say, hey, is there a chance I can still be on it? That's the best I can tell you. Send their homework.
Is affirmative action the one that?
No, that was sustainability. That was
Okay.
cut, and that's no longer. Senator Crouch saying.
Affirmative action is going through a restructure. That's the one. I don't know if they're restructured yet.
Okay, the only email I received was from sustainability that they were no longer in the committee.
I don't think, as far as I know, affirmative action isn't going to meet for a little bit.
Okay.
They're going through a lot.
And I don't know if
restructure.
Roger's here, but if you would reach out to, sweet, if you would reach out and then just figure it out and let me know. So beyond that, did any campus or ad hoc committees meet this week? Senator Eldedex.
So Turk met the other day, and we discussed. So they changed the constitution last year, and so they required 2 community members on their board, and so they had 2 committee members present at the meeting. They're still discussing broadcasting over the football games, and their state of finances is good, and they have a show coming up to raise money. And they were discussing the possibility of a K-Tech app, which they could listen to the radio station on an app.
Oh, pretty cool. Questions? Okay, other campus for ad hoc. Speed up.
Survey committee met. So when Stephanie gets me a list of points, I'll send you this to you, Dan. So couple points that we went through. Hysega is going to be getting a whiteboard down there. There's one of the only rooms that don't have a whiteboard down there. Everywhere, all the other rooms had whiteboards in there, so we're going to put money in there. Shelvings for the bathroom. Engineers are coming back through again to make sure that we can hold the weight in the concrete walls for shelvings. We're going to put, so out by the fireplace out there, there was a monitor that had a lot of stating what things were going on campus or welcome signs. That monitor burnt out, so now we're going to be moving one of the monitors back into that fireplace. I think that's done already. So that way we specifically said for like when the candidates come, we can put their names out there on the monitor and welcome them there by the fireplace. I gotta get with Stephanie, but we're going to be ordering some new games for the Xbox, and then we're talking about bringing in some retro consoles down there, and also adding another TV into that area where the couches are. So there'll be 2 TVs on the wall there. We're going to put bar tables by the pool tables, and then we're also going to have some just regular table height tables for other people to sit there instead of everything being bar height tables in there. And then the board over on that hallway is going to be our digital board for Student Senate only, so that'll be deemable for you guys to post whatever you want on there. For that, and then the one request they really wanted for when they see that is if they can get a student that lives in the dorms to be on their committee, because they said, those students utilize
Survey?
Yep, on the survey committee. That would probably be really helpful for them.
I don't remember. Did I throw?
No, none of us live in.
Well, I'm in RA.
Yeah, I guess yeah. You said
So that works for now, and then I'll make sure to make a note in our transition binder that whoever when they do that they should assign someone for us. Thanks.
Oh yeah, and then the lockers downstairs. They probably weren't utilized very often before because people always just had their stuff in them. Those are now based on a daily rental, and what that is just downstairs by the kitchen sink and Salak. There's some lockers there that are used for day rentals. You can check out. And I think that's all the notes I had for it.
Senator Wright.
I'm still listed under SAAC, even though I'm supposed to be.
So, is it a separate advisory committee that? Okay. Yeah. Can you speak to that, because I was a little confused. Joel made it sound like it was a separate committee.
Okay, so I think it's a separate committee because I was in SAC. I think my freshman year, or like in the beginning of Gina and AJ's term, but I went to their meetings like before, like a little bit, and what it was Jordan Cadillac.
Yeah,
and there's one player from every sport, so that was SAC, pretty much. So,
right.
So I think athletics advisory is slightly different.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it is different.
Right. You want time to direct your hand?
Yeah, and so it's still active. So if it's not under Tiffany, I think it's under Andrew now.
Right.
But
But-
exactly the way he says it, it may not be athletes and stuff. So.
Right, but so what I'm saying is, we were told that it had to be a non-athlete on that advisory committee, but there's like a separate advisory committee, not on SAC is what it made it sound like, originally. Senator Elmo.
So that happened during last year, and I believe it was Joel who told me that he would rather have a senator on SAC than on the athletic advisory board, but maybe you want to double check.
He asked for both.
Okay, so we could probably do both, but also I think the president of SAC right now is Rahel, so you can contact her if you have
Okay,
questions.
and if you just make sure I'm on that email, just so I can keep up with that. Thank you. Any other campus ad hoc committees? Senator Plum.
So Ari went to the food committee and she had just some
Oh, yeah.
answers from Jen. So here, I'll just read the questions and what she has kind of for the answers. Minor Shack is too expensive. Minor Shack is a convenience store and therefore the prices are higher. We don't buy in bulk like Walmart does. Have free coffee instead of free popcorn during finals week. She will look into this. Bring back brunch burgers. That was a limited time offer, but people can add an egg to their burgers. She said it's like telling McDonald's to bring back the McRib. Specific food suggestions: the Southwest chicken in the Minor Shack. You just have to ask for Southwest chicken, and they will make it that way. Cookable food in the Minor Shack. There is cookable food. Minor Shack is not a grocery store. There's only so much space in the Minor Shack, and she's asking what exact types of food are people looking for. And then there's some issues pertaining to expired food. Jen's going to talk to staff and check dates and packaging, and she'll confirm that they're doing that. We also talked earlier about the open forum for students. She's going to check on the April 13th lunch for the spring carnival. And then Dan wants a Coke freestyle, and Coke's coming in the next few weeks to do a survey for our campus.
Questions for Okay. Any other campus ad hoc committees? Is there any Senator committees?
So the gas stove ad hoc meeting hasn't met yet. It will be meeting on Friday at 4 at the Alex Hotel Johnson Starbucks.
Okay.
So
Was there an update regarding the potential for simulation? Did you guys want to talk about that now? Simulation.
Taking this out.
Yeah.
So something we did talk about next year, because we've run out of time to request a GAF increase, we could simulate a GAF increase by taking the same amount of money out of the SOAP reserve account. I talked to Heather before about this. She said that we could do this. It's within our right. Of course, we want to get lots of student feedback, and if, let's say we simulated $1 GAF increase, we would take $60,000 out of the account and give that to the students next year. Nothing saying we have to do $60,000, maybe less than that. Just the idea is that we take some out of it.
Can you give some examples of what the reserve fund would be used for and why we need so much money?
The biggest purpose of it is protection against drop in enrollment. So if we allocate a certain amount, or if we project a certain amount, and then the enrollment drops, and so we don't have enough, that's where the funding would come out of. She said rainy day money.
And that's also where supplemental funding comes out.
Supplemental funding also comes out. That's correct.
Senator Barthel?
How much in the SOAP reserve is there?
There's 800,000.
Oh, so it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Senator Avener?
So I haven't done math since freshman year, so I'm gonna do some quick math here. If we have $800,000 and we withdraw $60,000 a year, that's 13.3 repeating years that we have of that. And if you said earlier in your report that it goes up by 50 grand a year, which is a net loss of 10, right? 10,000. So if we were to increase the gap, like you're saying, through the reserve account, that would last us 80 years.
Okay, so your math is great, but it sounds like me last week. Here's the issue. So it's gone up an average of $50,000 a year. That's not guaranteed to the amount that it will grow. It's in past, it's grown more than 50,000 because the enrollment has increased more than we saw coming. So we want to be careful not to make projections on what can happen in the future.
So, especially 80 years in the Senator Provost.
Thank you. And this year is one of the years that you have to dip into that because we're down in enrollment this year on credit hour production. The other thing that previous senates have allocated out of there is for one-time special projects. One time they worked on the wellness center, and this was a long time ago before the new wellness center, but they updated a physical fitness room one time, so that was an example.
Senator Elmore.
Could a possible one-time special event be our concert? Are we thinking about that?
That discussion is being considered. Again, it's good to keep money in there, and it's as Ezra mentioned, if we're going to take money out of there, we kind of have to let Heather know well in advance because it is tied up into other places, so it has to be loose.
Well, technically not very far in advance. She said spending it next year, we need to tell her by May. So
Right.
that's like the end of next year.
But I mean, like, we couldn't say this week, I saw, is there a hand over here? No? Senator Collins.
Is there a possible way we could like invest that into something? It's a lot of money. We can make money off of it. I have no idea. Honestly, I can ask her about that. I do know that it's tied up. The university is using it. It's not just like a pile of money that's sitting in somebody's garage. It's like, it's tied up somewhere. And that's why she would stress so much if we wanted to take it out, because she would have to pull it out of all the places where it's being used.
Can I just clarify something?
Please do.
That would not be, it's not like we would yank 800 grand straight out of it. It's not, that's not what it is.
Right.
So like, I would like to just scale the conversation down.
Yeah, no, I think we're all on the same page. 80 years from now, we'll be out of it. All right. Any other questions on this topic? Or Senator Pike?
You pulling 60,000 out of that reserve funding for supplementing clubs and stuff. You said that was just like a one-time thing, just like not that we would do it every year. Like we would do it once just to simulate what it would be like if we raised the gap fund.
Right. Yeah, we would do it with the intention of raising the gap fee, and then because it couldn't get kicked through fast enough, we would raise where we pull it out of them, so that first year.
Senator Real.
I'm just curious if like raising the gap would like dissuade or discourage kids from coming here even more. Like
So you consider the average,
ours is, don't we have a really high?
well, ours is the second highest. You consider if you raise it by $1, the average credit hour is 15, we'll say, here. It's probably a little higher than that. So it'd be $15 a semester, right? It would be, because you're paying it per credit hour. So if you take 15 credits, it's $15. It's not like you're paying $40 extra per credit or something. You know what I mean? But I think that's important to have, that idea. Senator Avedekis. Okay. Anything else on this topic? Going once, twice, any other campus or ad hoc committees? Senator Avedekis.
I just have a motion to move upcoming Senate business before open discussion so that Neil can present.
That's fine, I was just going to have him present during open discussion.
Oh, okay.
That works too. Okay, we'll move on to open discussion, and with that,
Concert committee met.
Put your hand out.
I was waiting till everybody was done. Sorry. So anyways, Anthony Wright Sr., Anthony's dad, who was very awesome. He's a music executive in LA. He got on the phone with us on speakerphone, and so we talked with him about working with artist managers and the timeline of setting up the concert. Good news is we still have plenty of time. Better news is we now have a foot in the door in the music industry. I also talked about Kevin Price potentially using Club 1 through 5. Already reached out to the planner for USB concerts to get info on several hurdles we'll have to overcome for the concert. So if you want to talk to me about that, or you just want to come to the concert committee meeting, you can do that. So now is the time to jump on the bandwagon. Pun intended.
Okay. Any questions for concert committee? All right. So open discussion, Neil, I'll give you the floor, but as Neil's speaking, I'm gonna pass this around. This is a list of seniors graduating in December. Please, you get 2 votes, so you can vote for the same person twice, or you can vote for 2 different people. Just put like a tally mark next to their name. This is for commencement speaker, and then we can recommend up to 4 names to pass on, and then it ultimately, I believe President Brzezinski makes the final call. So I'm gonna pass this around.
All right. Hey, gang.
Go to the front, Neil.
All right. How many of you know what or who Rowdy Rockers is? Great. All right. We do all the tailgating at the football games, and it's run by me and Joe. And we're looking to have you guys volunteer to come cook with us on November 4th. You would be there from 11 a.m. and we usually wrap up about 5 minutes after the game starts. If you would like to cook, you can. If you don't like cooking, you can just hang out. The point of our organization is to show students that other organizations are supporting each other. So if you volunteer, it would be best if you either brought some kind of banner or wore a t-shirt that says you're in Student Senate. Or your polo. Are you able to volunteer right now? We'd like 8 people.
Yeah, we've had, this has been on our radar for a while. So if you guys, what's the best way to do this? Will you, Neil, can you just stay after the meeting and we'll all get together? Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that. Everyone who's going to be, it's on the 4th, and you said a little before 11?
Yep.
Okay, then we will do that. It's family. What? Okay, anything else for open discussion? Senator Ellen.
I have a question for student affairs, and if you want to talk after, we can. But I'm just curious, the comment on the board about the railing by Cervec, and then the answer was it takes thousands of dollars to fix. I think we're on separate pages about that, potentially, because I think that, okay.
I think a very enthusiastic Senator Seatalk would like to say.
So we talked about that in Cervec meeting. I forgot to mention it. What it is that step right there is against like city ordinance for the height of it, and we had a student break their ankle on it. So that is why that railing is there now. It would have cost to have an engineer come in and redraw plans and everything. It was going to cost a couple $1,000s for them to do that, pour concrete and everything. That area right there is going to be removed when the expansion happens. So putting the railing there was good enough for the insurance thing, and that was the cheapest option at the time.
So just to clarify, we're talking about the railing that's like right here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. 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 That was
Okay. Anything else from Senator Browse?
Gina, this detailed discussion that Brent gave will be in the next email.
okay.
Send out to student body.
So I should.
Okay. Anything else for open discussion? Okay, upcoming Senate business. As Neil said, the 4th of November, we have volunteered to help out with that. So both, it's a really great opportunity for us to, put some service in, interact with an org, a student group on campus, and then also go to the game. Beyond that, I don't know if I have much on here for, do you guys have any upcoming Senate business that needs to be addressed during this meeting?
Food trucks tomorrow night.
Yes, well, that is a Senate business. There's posters up. We posted on social media, correct? Okay, we'll talk about that. But yeah, so just if you're gonna volunteer, meet with Neil after. Announcements. Senator Providence.
So, Delta SIG is having our philanthropy event for our National Philanthropy American Red Cross, where we're overnight driving over 100 dozen donuts from Denver, and they're going to be as fresh as possible for Rapid City, and we're selling them with tax added at retail price, cheaper than what you would pay at the store, and you don't even have to drive to Denver, and all net proceeds go to the Red Cross. It is $10 for glazed, and $12 for a sword.
And what is the date?
And they will be available on Monday, November 6th. And if you're on campus and you would like them delivered, we will deliver them.
Okay, any other announcements?
Someone wanted me to announce the Fantasy and Fights concert on this Monday, October 30th at 7:30 in the music hall.
Gotcha. Come support music on our campus, 7:30 Monday. Any other announcements? I don't. No, we're on the announcement. Safe growth.
I have an extremely important announcement to make.
Is this?
This actually requires me to be on campus right here.
Courtesy of Trevor Nicholas, who photoshopped a turkey baster into my hand to be as uncomfortable as possible.
So I can't make resolutions at CFO, but I'd like to make a resolution to keep this in the Senate office.
I really prefer not.
It's a really great decorative art. I really like it.
I have to admit, I saw that in the hallway and I was like, is this great?
Alright.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, any other announcements?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a serious one before. This Friday, when Chi Alpha is doing one of their philanthropy events, we are doing a night in the cold. So Rapid City has a very high homelessness rate compared to the national average, and so what we're doing is to sort of raise awareness of that. We are having people camp out in the quad, and it's going to be $15 a person. All the proceeds will go to Cornerstone Mission, and there'll be people from Cornerstone, both sort of experts in the helping out with homelessness. So how can you help, and then just I think stories as well from people who have spent time homeless in Rapid City. It's a really great event to help the community. If Neil has more to speak, I grant you the floor.
It will be, our guest speakers are people from Cornerstone Mission, not people who formerly experienced the mission.
Okay, good. Well, there you go. But we're gonna have games. We're gonna watch a movie, and it's just gonna be a really great night for celebrating a community coming together to sort of fight one of the problems that Rapid City really does suffer from. If you guys have any questions, talk to me, Jake, Neil, and we'll do that. No.
What day was that?
Friday, and it starts at 5 p.m. and so you camp out until you get dinner and breakfast, correct? Just dinner.
Dinner, snacks,
Dinner and snacks.
t-shirt.
And a T-shirt if you're in the first 100 to sign up. This Friday, like 2 days from now. Senator Provost.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but pre-orders are highly encouraged, so we don't buy too many or too less. So.
Are you talking about the donuts?
Yes, regarding the donuts. So if you want a dozen, please let me know. Yes, ASAP. So we don't waste food.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. Senator Keenan.
So as you all know, Secret Santa is right around the corner.
And it actually is.
It is right around the corner. Yep. There's candy in the stores. So
I would like to nominate Senator Knudsen to talk to Dean Mann and schedule our annual Christmas party. Are there people in opposition to that? Executive order. There you go. Jake.
So we found a potential opener for the concert next week or next year, and that will be Marky Mark and the Senate Bunch, as you can see up there.
It's kind of hard to see. Brock, would you turn the mic on?
This was the best photo shoot I've ever been a part of.
This is that is Marky Mark and the Senate Bunch.
So that would be Mark, Jake, Megan, and Gina, who are apparently dropping a rap album.
So stay tuned.
All right. And any other announcements? Anything for the good of the cause? Okay, I would entertain a motion, Senator Providesai. There's been a motion to adjourn made by Senator Providesai, seconded by Senator Wright. All those in favor? Is there discussion on this motion? All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, guys. Hey, if you're gonna volunteer, meet with Neil.
Yeah, we didn't get your follows yet.
Like that. She had that scissor list.
Yeah, everyone. Oh, I saw that picture. It was like, why? It's very awkward for me, Corey. Okay. So, all right. Let's go talk. Sorry, I just couldn't say like sorry for me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Hey guys! Who's gonna help out these guys? I have plenty of people on the Facebook page who said they would Okay, well even better. We have at least one more in here.
I'll be there.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
And then we
Yeah, we already hashed it.
Yeah, like I said, then you're capturing it from students' perspective, talking to people, and then it gives people looking at your perspective.
Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, Corey, are you leaving? I have a question. I don't know if it's gonna be answered. So,
Have you seen the video?
And then, we have people trained in.
Just go over to, you know, when you go to the dispatcher's office and you go straight back to the right is where it's
Can't assume anything.
Susan or them and just have I think so. I'm saying like it, and they should just.
They'll be professional. Thus far, this meeting
They might also do it online, but I don't know that they see. So I would just go over there when you're.
We just show up and like,
Okay.
I thought you were going to tell me to bring it.
Oh.
Do we need to bring it in?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Like,
Okay. So, Ed, you made a Fox. That's about the
you made a Fox video.
Oh, Fox video. Yes.
You might have to have more than one caller. Like how many callers do we we could go full like 4 or 5 people
Cross my name. If somebody has a pen, they can cross my name off the pen. Because that would be.
Is it possible to purchase copies of that wonderful photo?
I'm sure you could get some.
No. That's the best kind of when he really takes you a lot of work.
Dude, and it was great. I was in the Senate office a couple times and I didn't see it. And I was like sitting there, I looked and I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? It was just like on the wall. From the trash.
But you never let those photos get taken.
So we do not need to meet with.
It did not originally have to. I have a couple weird like goofy selfies like that I will never leave my phone under any circumstance. I don't even know why I have
So,
it.
no, it was for Lambda that we had to, it was, someone gave us, you've heard the Navy guy, I'm sure, speak about like how you make your bed. And so we had to take a picture of our main bed, and it was like, so I posed for it, and that was, and it came back to bite me in the ass.
Yeah, no,
And you want to stop the street?
Did
we stop that?
I won't be able to be there either, and so here's the update. Okay. And then on this, I'm gonna erase this.
No, I made it only halfway
Now,
around.
will anybody
Okay, we'll do it.
report on how?
And I fixed the correction on there.
That's what they were gonna spend the bulk of the meeting on.
Yes, so I emailed.
Hey, Brent.
And,
Oh, there it is. Never mind.
I'm just curious because, yeah.
yeah, just like, I'm an idiot.